Video games are one of the biggest forms of entertainment out there. And, well, for a lot of us, it's what introduced us to this industry and a lot of our friends. A while ago, I was having a conversation where we were reminiscing about some of our favorite games and the equipment that we had in them. Well, two giants of the game world came up, GoldenEye and Splinter Cell. And we started arguing over who had the better kit in there. Well, let's discuss. The Walther PPK is one of the most iconic guns of the screen, be it movies or video games. It's so well known that it might be the one gun that Bethesda devs got right in Fallout 4. We're not even going to address this atrocity. One Google search. One Google search was all it would have taken to fix this. But we're not talking about that. My introduction to the PPK was actually on GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo 64. The PPK is so popular IRL that it's been copied again and again and goes by many names, but we almost all know it because of the worst secret agent ever of all time. James Bond. No, I'm not going to say it that way. I refuse to. The spy who gives his full name to everyone is widely known to carry the Walther PPK in 7.65, or as we know it here in the States, 32 ACP. The diminutive PPK was prized for its small size and general reliability, even though it was chambered in the wheezing little cartridge. In Bond movies and games, it's almost always seen with a silencer attached and an infinite ammo cheat turned on. And on paper, the PPK makes for a really compelling spy gun. Small, easily concealed, and widely distributed over the world for plausible deniability, but with almost a century of technology, surely there has to be a better gun. The 5.7 has had its ups and downs over the years, but we have to admit it was one of the most impressive rounds to see streaking across our screens. I remember the first time I played as Sam Fisher, doing the splits over a ludicrously high, poorly lit hallway, headshotting guys with its silenced 5.7. The devs of Splinter Cell had listened to the gospel of Tom Clancy, the tactical messiah, when they chose the 5.7 from FN. It was new and cool, the next hot round to dethrone the 10mm and the aging 9mm. Anyone with any sense who watched the stunning espionage gameplay would just have to admit the 5.7 wasn't just the future, it was the most well-rounded pistol caliber in the world. So which is it? Which is the best spy pistol to choose? Is it the cinematic staying power of the Walther PPK chosen by booze-swilling, womanizing super spies ready to steal the world's spices and artifacts for Queen and Country? Or is it the modern marvel of high velocity and high capacity chosen by gruff men ready to deconstruct evil plots and hide terrorist bodies in the shadows? Well, it's my duty to find out. So I donned my best turtleneck and I got to work.
What? I didn't invent the turtleneck, Lana, but I was the first to recognize its potential as a tactical garment. The tactical turtleneck, Lana.
Archer.
The tactile neck.
So standing in as our stunt doubles for today, the Burst of Thunder in 380 actually comes from the factory with a threaded barrel option. And most Walthers in 380 or 32 with a threaded barrel are rare and most often kind of custom jobs. And for the FN, we've got a Smith & Wesson M&P 5.7 because it's what I've got. And well, I blew our budget on turtlenecks and scotch and a scar. But other than that, it's functionally identical for our uses today. I'm going to be in so much trouble for this. While hushing the muzzle blast is great and all, a sonic boom is none too subtle, and might even be argued as the least sneaky thing you can bring to a clandestine operation. The supersonic crack of an itty bitty 40 grain bullet cruising at 1700 feet per second is enough to make your ears ring, if they don't already do that, and it's enough to cause significant hearing loss with extended exposure. Now, the 380 with anything over an 80 grain bullet will be well below the Mach 1 until you get to very, very cold temps, like, I don't know, Siberia. But everyone there is so drunk it takes a near world ending asteroid strike to get them to look up from their state ration of vodka. The point being that the 380 inarguably will have a much lower noise signature when you need to be sneaky. The effectiveness of each round on an Evil Henchman is really hard to qualify, as neither round produces as much of a wound tract as a Full House 9mm does, but the 5.7 does offer better performance on some types of body armor, so maybe that's a bit of an edge to the 5.7. Either way, you better get good at headshots. When it comes to capacity, the 5.7 trounces the 380 easily, as the ammo of the 5.7 is almost half the weight of the 380 and smaller, so smuggling in ammo will be easier, and a way higher henchman per mag ratio for the 5.7. Now, if these pros and cons have already been enough for you to decide which is the classiest spy pistol, head over to jerry'soutdoorsports.com and pick one up, or you can come into our physical location and we can help you out here. And don't forget to sign up for our giveaways. But if you're still deciding, let's get out to the range with these guys. So first thing you'll notice when you square up on the Bursa is that with the silencer on there, it occludes your sights. So you will have to get used to superimposing the sights on the back of the suppressor and line it up from there, which I found to be no great hindrance at 7 yards, but beyond there it added an extra level of complexity in a stressful situation. That being said, paired headshots at 7 yards was quite doable even while hungover. Why was I hungover? Well, it just seemed canonically inappropriate to not be. The 380 is very quiet, suppressed, and while not movie or video game quiet, it's quite comfortable to shoot without ear pro, and my shot timer struggled to pick up the shots.
Can't even pick it up.
Even with the Huxworks Cash 9 and its flow-through technology, I did get a lot more back pressure and even developed a bit of a flinch as I got tired of being sandblasted by unburnt powder with each shot, and the slide velocities did seem high as recoil was more than I would expect from the 380.
Oh, so much powder in the face.
Reliability was excellent, all things considered. The only issue I ran into was failure to lock to the rear on an empty magazine when it got dirty. The M&P had none of these issues. The light recoil of the 5.7 made speed drills easy. An addition of a red dot on the M&P ensured that I could see over the suppressor, and accuracy was phenomenal. I had 100% reliability, not a single malfunction at all. The 5.7, however, was much more noticeable to the ear, even with the silencer on there. After a few rounds, I elected to use Ear Pro for all shooting. I did try the Fiocchi subsonic ammo, and it worked really well, but the lost velocity wasn't made up for by the marginal weight gain increase of the round. Velocity is what 5.7 does. Triggers on both were actually quite good, and both never prevented me from doing any decent work. The double action on the Bursa is by no means the finest I've felt, but the single action broke clean and was easy to find the reset on. The striker trigger on the M&P is proof of how dramatically improved the triggers on Smiths are now that they finally ditched the hinged trigger concept. Bill drills with both were easy to maintain and achieve at 7 yards and even 10 yards, though groups with the Bursa were larger and times were a little bit slower, again because of the obscured sights. 2-target transitions with both were really easy, but so much faster being able to use the red dot on the M&P. When I got done with a few range sessions, it was undeniable that there were some issues with both. The M&P was large and hard to conceal, and loading the magazines were torturous, whereas the Bursa, having one-third the capacity, just kind of lagged behind. And trying to add a red dot on a white light on here would be a fool's errand, not to mention ruin the undeniable aesthetics of the PPK and their clones.
Come out with your hands up! What was that noise?
Honestly, when I started this, I figured Sam Fisher's choice would be the obvious option. Of course, the FN and the M&P would be leagues better than the relatively ancient choice of the world's least subtle super spy. But then Bond did canonically go back to the PPK after running the P99 for a while. Which super spy gun would you guys choose? And don't give me anything about a Mark 23. Solid Snake was not a super spy. He was a genetically modified super soldier that had hallucinations of supernatural beings. Anyway, I'm Chris with Jerry's Outdoor Sports, and maybe the real intel was the friends we made along the way.